Our other top story this evening, Erie County leaders are telling New York City to stop sending more asylum seekers to our region. This comes after an asylum seeker from the Democratic Republic of Congo was arrested yesterday for allegedly sexually assaulting an employee inside a local hotel. During a press conference this morning, Cheektowaga Police Chief Brian Gould announced 22-year-old Kindu Jansi was charged with first-degree sexual abuse and unlawful imprisonment. Police say a 27-year-old woman filed the complaint yesterday afternoon with the Cheektowaga Police Department. We're told the victim works for Platinum Community Care, which is one of the organizations helping asylum seekers at a Best Western on Dingeon Street. Chief Gould says, for the most part, there have been no major issues with the refugee community since they've been housed in Cheektowaga. But now that there have been 2 alleged violent crimes in the past 2 weeks, he's urging elected officials to step in.
I'm calling for extra funding to cover overtime shifts so that we can increase police presence in the community around the hotels. All crimes need to be immediately reported to the police, and that any suspects are not questioned, interviewed, or guided in any way prior to our police investigations. I'm also asking that on-site security be reviewed to ensure that the security guards hired have training to deal with this special population and that they are highly experienced.
Meanwhile, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz backs Chief Gould on this issue. He says he's been in contact with New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who agreed to put a pause on sending asylum seekers to Western New York.
We were assured of the safety, security, and proper screening by New York City through DocGo. Clearly, that hasn't been done. Refugee agencies, local workers, and others should not and cannot work under the present security conditions. New York City needs to fix this, and I am glad to say that Mayor Adams understands the gravity of the situation, has assured me they will.
The county executive says this is essentially a federal issue, and the Biden administration needs to act. News 4's Patrick Ryan will have a full report on this tonight at 10 and 11.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Jordan Report, and I am your host, Robert Jordan. Everyone, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. All right, guys, one of my earlier teachers used to tell us all the time, if you know history, life is no mystery. And what he was trying to say is, if you know what happened yesterday, it's easy to determine what's going to happen today. So we know what happened in Europe. We know Europe was flooded by millions of migrants from all over the world, against their will most of the time. And large amounts of rapes happened in Europe. So it's easy to determine if the same thing happens over here, we're probably going to see the same results. And that's what's happening, people. When you let large amounts of people into your country and you don't know who they are, the worst people can show up, and that's what's happening. Now let's go back into Europe for a little bit, because I want you to see what's coming your way, America, since we're going to sit here and just watch this. This was back in 2018. 8 out of 10 stranger rapes in Sweden are carried out by migrants, with more than half of all rape convictions to foreigners, study reveals. Nearly 6 in 10 convicted rapists in Sweden was born in another country. Nearly 6 in 10 convicted rapists in Sweden was born in another country. Where rapists and victims didn't know each other, the figure is 85%. 4 in 10 stranger rape attackers have been in Sweden less than a year. 4 in 10 stranger rape attackers have been in Sweden less than a year. That means these were the new arrivals. Okay? So let me tell you what else is coming your way, because there's a lot more coming our way, America, because we're just standing here watching this. This is what happened to the Swedes, okay? The Swedes were the first to swallow the poison pill of open borders, and they're paying dearly for it. But this is what happened to the Swedes. They had no-go zones in Sweden. They had adult migrants enrolling in schools as children. They had desecration of churches in Sweden. And now we got a report of a bombing wave going on in Sweden. This is what happens, people, okay? This is easy to determine this coming our way because it's already happening. Same pattern, same people, the George Soros networks, the traitors in the country, and the globalists. Same people. But anyway, here's the latest story. The truth about the Swedish bombing crisis. How many of us knew Sweden was having a bombing crisis? Most of us didn't know that. You may have heard that Sweden has a rape crisis. I was just telling you about that. But you know that Sweden also has a bombing crisis? If you only read the mainstream media, you might never heard about it. But Sweden has a shockingly high number of bombings. Some people on the left have tried to brush it off, as always, as just being firecrackers. But the fact is we're dealing with powerful explosives, hand grenade attacks, and IEDs. We're dealing with weapons of war. In fact, these things are getting so bad that innocent children and elderly are now being killed in bombings and grenade attacks. This is not something you would expect to happen in Sweden. Hand grenade attacks. What happened to my once peaceful home country? In fact, things are so bad, bombings have become so normal everyday life, an everyday occurrence, we're not talking about one bombing every month or so. No, in 2019, Sweden had an average of almost 5 bombings every single week. Sweden, people. Here's where it happened, okay? This is from swinging their border open the way they did. Sweden took on more people per capita than anybody in the world. And they're paying dearly for this. So everything is predictable to me, America. The only thing I didn't predict was the reaction of the American people. I didn't think the Americans would stand this for 3 days, let alone 3 years. I thought this would have been over with long time ago. But since we're going to stand here and watch this, we now have hell to pay.
The last 45 minutes, we heard from the DocGo for the first time since one of their staff members was allegedly sexually assaulted by an asylum seeker last night. That man has now been charged, and as the investigation continues, DocGo says it will fully cooperate with authorities. 2 on Your Side's Keelan Berrien has the latest on this case tonight.
Our community's trust and good faith has been betrayed. New York City needs to fix this.
And the only reason Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz is demanding New York City's help is because there's now a second incident involving an asylum seeker committing a sex crime. 2 situations in 1 week.
And they are too many.
Cheektowaga police arrested 22-year-old Kendu Jinsi from the Republic of Congo on Friday. He allegedly sexually assaulted an employee working with asylum seekers. Jinsi was arraigned in Cheektowaga Town Court Saturday afternoon, so we asked the Erie County District Attorney about the case.
The defendant and her were in this storage area there, and he allegedly, tried to touch her in a sexually inappropriate manner.
DA Flynn says Jinsi is charged with sexual abuse and unlawful imprisonment.
She initially, tried to fight him off and tried to leave the room. And the allegation is that he tried to block the doorway.
Now, this second incident has fired up Republican legislators. Here's why. They asked Poloncarz for a plan for the refugees constantly. They even ridiculed Poloncarz in statements saying he was inviting this problem to Erie County and he was making our community less safe. Now they're demanding that the alleged abusers be removed. Jinsi was staying at a hotel on Dinga Street, located near a residential neighborhood.
Town, county, and New York State cannot solve what is essentially a federal issue. The Biden administration and Congress must act on this and truly implement comprehensive immigration reform.
But until that happens, Poloncarz has asked New York City Mayor Eric Adams to pause on sending more asylum seekers to Erie County, which he says Adams agreed. And now this, the National Guard is coming.
The governor has agreed to place National Guard members at each of the hotels to act as a stabilizing presence.
But that will not happen for a couple of days. Jinsi is in the Erie County Holding Center and returns to court next week. On Your Side in Cheektowaga, Keelan Berrien, Channel 2 News.